Are you worried about keeping up with your car payments? Maybe you're wondering about what your options are if you're falling behind. You are not alone. Today, we're diving into what happens if you can't afford your car payment, the strategies you can use to keep your vehicle, and how bankruptcy could help. Plus, I'll share my own experience with reaffirming my car loan during bankruptcy and how Upsolve can help guide you through that process. Hey, I'm Ben. I'm the host of the Break Free podcast and the co-founder of the nonprofit Upsolve. On this show, we tackle financial stress and we help you create financial joy. See, we're all about making tough financial topics relatable and giving you the tools you need to break free from debt and build the future that you deserve. Quick disclaimer before we dive in. While I do bring my personal experience and a law degree into our discussions, I'm not a licensed attorney or a financial advisor. This podcast is about sharing insights and tools that have helped many people, including myself. For specific advice, please consult a professional. Now, in our last episode, we covered 7 proven ways to rebuild your credit after bankruptcy. Make sure you check it out if you haven't already. All right, so my story. When I filed bankruptcy, keeping my car was honestly my biggest fear. It wasn't my credit score. It wasn't what people were going to think. It was whether or not I, as an Uber, Lyft, and Instacart driver, would still have a car left to do my job with after I filed bankruptcy, because my car was my livelihood. Losing it would have meant losing my income, which would have meant bankruptcy put me in a worse position. Luckily, I was able to reaffirm my car loan in bankruptcy, which meant that I kept making my payments and I kept my car. Now, it wasn't an easy process, though. Reaffirmation is an additional legal step that we'll discuss in detail in a future episode. Upsolve is a critical resource that has helped thousands of people deal with this process, and it can help you too. I wish I'd had a resource like Upsolve. Reaffirmation was kind of tricky for me. But I was able to do it, and I was able to keep my car, even though I filed bankruptcy. I just reaffirmed it, kept making the same payments I'd been making before, but all the rest of my debt from my credit cards was gone, so it was way easier to make that car payment. Now, let's say you're not necessarily filing bankruptcy, but you just can't afford your car payment. Many people are in those positions. What should you do? If you're struggling with your car payments, you do have options. Here are some ways that you can avoid repossession and stay on track. The first is called loan modification. Now, what this is you can contact your lender and you can see if they're willing to adjust the terms to lower your monthly payment. That may seem crazy, right? Like, why would they take less money than you're currently giving them? But a lot of times they'll say, oh, like you're struggling with, maybe you have a medical issue that came up. Maybe you are about to lose a job, just did lose a job. They don't want to lose your payments and they don't want to go through the hassle of repossessing the car many times. And so sometimes they're going to be willing to renegotiate, give you a delay, give you a reduced interest rate for a time. Always worth asking. So give them a call, be honest with them about your situation and see what they can do. Another option is to refinance your car loan. You can look into getting a new loan with better terms to make your payments more manageable. Maybe you're paying 6% interest now, but the interest rates have fallen since you got your car loan. You might be able to negotiate it down to, say, 4%, which would reduce your payments and save you a lot of money. Next, a little bit less, exciting, a little bit more painful option, you can voluntarily surrender your car. If keeping the car isn't feasible, voluntary surrendering would mean, that you give the car back to the person that you bought it from, or to the lender, excuse me. And it's a better option, generally speaking, than repossession because it doesn't require a legal process. It doesn't require the lender to come after you, to go to court. And so it's not going to show up in your credit report as damaging as, say, a repossession would. Now, bankruptcy can also be a great solution. I mentioned this earlier. Chapter 7 or Chapter 13 bankruptcy can help you protect your vehicle and restructure your debt. During bankruptcy, depending upon the value of your car and how much you owe, you may be able to get out of that, that situation that you're in, get rid of all the rest of your debt and still keep your car and the value of your car by using bankruptcy exemptions. So if you get rid of the rest of your debt, like I did, all the huge credit card payments that you're making, that car loan can become much easier to handle. So bankruptcy can be a good option for you if this is something you're struggling with. Now, there are other debt relief options as well. Upsolve's free screener tool can help you evaluate the best course of action for your situation and take action to get out of debt, which can help you protect your car and continue forward if you do need to keep that car. Now, I talked a little bit about reaffirmation. Let me dive a little bit more into what that is. The legal process of reaffirming a car loan allows you to continue making payments and keep your car despite filing bankruptcy. Here's how it works. You file a reaffirmation agreement with the court during your bankruptcy proceedings. Assuming you get an approval from a judge, which often happens if you have, a legitimate reason for needing your car. especially like if the car is essential for work, as it was for me. You file it, you appear in court, you turn in your argument to the judge asks you a couple questions, and generally speaking, as long as I mentioned, as you have a legitimate reason, they're going to give you that granted agreement. It gets entered into your bankruptcy case, and your car loan survives the bankruptcy. Now, this can be risky because if you fall behind on payments after bankruptcy, you're still going to be personally liable for that car loan. Now, this process can be complex, but Upsolve can provide guidance to make it easier in our bankruptcy tool. Head over to upsolve.org, click on Get Free Debt Help, enter the bankruptcy option. That tool functions like a TurboTax for bankruptcy, and it'll walk you step by step through the bankruptcy process, including the reaffirmation process. Now, outside of bankruptcy, let's say you're falling behind on your car payments. Let's go through some tips to stay ahead. Budgeting wisely to prioritize your car payments. For me, my car was way more important than my credit cards. And so one thing that I started doing as my credit card payments got harder and harder for me to make is I was paying the minimum on that, but kept paying my car payments, because nobody's going to repossess anything on your credit cards, right? Like, that's not how credit cards work. They're unsecured debts, but they would have repossessed my car. So I prioritized making car payments over other things like my credit cards. We talked about negotiating. You can negotiate your balance, but sometimes you can also negotiate with your lender to avoid late fees. And as I mentioned before, you can use Upsolve's resources to stay informed about your debt relief options and ways to handle your car payment. Look at the article linked in the description. It has additional tools and tips that you can use to keep up on them and handle your car during bankruptcy successfully, just like I did. Okay, let's go ahead and recap. Today we covered what happens if you can't afford your car payment, your options to avoid repossession, my own personal story of reaffirming my loan, and how Upsolve can help you deal with your car loan during bankruptcy. If you're struggling with car payments, visit Upsolve's free debt relief tool on our website, upsolve.org. Take a look at that free tool. It'll walk you through options for getting out of debt for free so that hopefully your car payment becomes less of a burden. Now, what about you? What is your biggest concern about your car, keeping your car either before or after financial hardship? Let us know in the comments or email breakfree@upsolve.org. We love hearing from you, and who knows, maybe your story will inspire somebody else to break free from debt and step into financial joy as well. In our next episode on Friday, January 31st, we're going to discuss how to get a mortgage after bankruptcy. Another big consideration. I was concerned when I filed bankruptcy that I would never be able to get a mortgage. And fun fact, I actually am in the house that I bought right now with the mortgage that I got after bankruptcy. So you can do it, and we'll talk more about how to do it in the next episode. Be sure you subscribe to the Break Free podcast. New episodes drop Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 a.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for listening, and remember, financial freedom is possible. We'll see you again soon for another episode of Break Free.